Welcome to a side of Louisiana that guidebooks don't dare to mention and tourists rarely discover. I'm taking you on a journey through the hidden corners of the Pelican State, where Spanish moss whispers ancient secrets, and every shadow holds a story that only locals know. These are the places where Louisiana reveals its true soul, far from the crowded streets of the French Quarter and the well-worn paths of plantation tours. Louisiana is a state built on mystery, where cultures collide and create something entirely unique. Today we're venturing into the forgotten bayous, abandoned settlements, and sacred grounds that have been carefully guarded by generations of locals. These are places where time moves differently, where the veil between past and present grows thin, and where the real magic of Louisiana comes alive. Our first stop takes us deep into the Atchafalaya Basin, the largest wetland in the United States. But we're not heading to the popular fishing spots or tourist boat tours. Instead, we're going to Periq Island, a tiny piece of land that most maps don't even acknowledge exists. This island, accessible only by pirogue or shallow draft boat, has been home to the same Cajun families for over 2 centuries. The island gets its name from the rare Periq tobacco that once grew here exclusively. This tobacco, so unique that it can only be cultivated in this specific microclimate, was traded like gold in the early 19th century. Today, only 3 families remain on the island, living much as their ancestors did, fishing the surrounding waters and tending small gardens that seem to defy the swampy conditions. What makes Periq Island truly special isn't just its isolation, but its complete disconnection from modern life. There's no electricity, no running water, and certainly no cell phone service. The families here still use traditional methods passed down through generations, from preserving food to predicting weather patterns by reading the behavior of local wildlife. They speak a dialect of French that linguists consider one of the purest forms of Louisiana Creole still in use. Getting to Periq Island requires local knowledge and permission from the families who call it home. They're protective of their sanctuary, not out of hostility, but from a deep understanding that their way of life is precious and fragile. Those lucky enough to visit describe an experience that feels like traveling back in time, where the pace of life is dictated by tides and seasons rather than clocks and calendars. Moving from the watery depths of the Atchafalaya to the mysterious pine forests of central Louisiana, we encounter our next hidden gem, the Kisatchie Hills Wilderness. While the Kisatchie National Forest draws its share of hikers and campers, there's a section known only to locals as the Driscoll Mountain Ghost Town. Driscoll Mountain, Louisiana's highest point at a modest 535 feet, seems an unlikely place for supernatural encounters. But climb to its summit and descend into the hidden valley on the north side, and you'll discover the remnants of a logging town that was abandoned so quickly in 1932 that families left their belongings behind. The town of Driscoll Hollow was established in the 1890s to harvest the virgin longleaf pine forest that once covered much of Louisiana. At its peak, nearly 800 people lived here, complete with a sawmill, company store, school, and even a small church. But when the Great Depression hit and timber prices collapsed, the logging company pulled out almost overnight, leaving workers and families stranded. What happened next remains one of Louisiana's most puzzling mysteries. Rather than relocate to nearby towns, the entire population simply vanished. No records exist of where they went, and searches conducted by state authorities in the 1930s found no trace of the missing residents. Today, the forest has reclaimed most of the town, but careful exploration reveals foundation stones, rusted machinery, and personal items scattered throughout the undergrowth. Local hunters and hikers report strange phenomena in Driscoll Hollow. Sounds of sawmill operations echoing through the trees on still nights. Glimpses of people in period clothing walking along overgrown roads. The scent of wood smoke from fires that don't exist. Most unsettling are the voices. Conversations in a dialect that sounds like English mixed with something else entirely, coming from empty spaces where buildings once stood. Scientists have studied the acoustics of the valley and found nothing unusual, but locals know better than to venture into Driscoll Hollow alone, especially after dark. They speak of the place with a mixture of fascination and respect, understanding that some mysteries are better left undisturbed. Our journey continues to southwest Louisiana, where the prairies meet the marshes in a landscape that few outsiders ever see. Here, in Vermilion Parish, lies a place known simply as the Fez Doo Grounds. This isn't a single location, but rather a network of secret gathering places where Cajun families have held their traditional dances for over a century. The term Fez Doo comes from the French phrase meaning go to sleep, referring to the practice of putting children to bed while adults danced through the night. But these particular gathering grounds are different from the community centers and dance halls that tourists might visit. These are places deep in the prairie, marked only by ancient live oak trees and rough wooden platforms built by hand decades ago. Each Fez Doo ground is maintained by extended families who trace their lineage back to the original Acadian settlers. The locations are passed down through oral tradition, never written down or mapped. Some grounds are active only during certain seasons, others only for special occasions like weddings or memorial celebrations. The music played here isn't the commercialized Cajun music heard in restaurants and festivals, but rather traditional tunes that have been preserved in their original form. What makes these gatherings truly special is their connection to older traditions. The dances themselves follow patterns that some ethnomusicologists believe date back to medieval France. The songs, sung in archaic French dialects, tell stories of love and loss, triumph and tragedy that have been passed down through oral tradition for generations. Participating in a Fez Doo at one of these secret grounds is like stepping into a living museum of Cajun culture. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of these gatherings is their spiritual dimension. Many of the songs and dances incorporate elements that predate Christianity, blending Catholic prayers with older folk beliefs. Some grounds are considered sacred, blessed by generations of celebration and community bonding. Others are said to be haunted by the spirits of ancestors who continue to participate in the eternal dance of their descendants. Venturing into the northern parishes of Louisiana, we discover a different kind of hidden treasure in the hills and forests near the Arkansas border. In Lincoln Parish, tucked away in a dense grove of ancient cypress trees, stands a structure that defies easy explanation, the Rustin Rock Cathedral. This isn't an official name, and you won't find it on any tourist maps. Local residents simply call it the Rocks, but that humble designation doesn't do justice to what might be Louisiana's most mysterious archaeological site. The cathedral consists of several dozen large sandstone blocks, some weighing several tons, arranged in patterns that suggest both architectural intent and astronomical alignment. The stones themselves aren't native to Louisiana. Geological analysis indicates they originated from quarries in Arkansas, but how they were transported to this remote location, and by whom, remains unknown. Carbon dating of organic material found beneath the stones suggests they've been in place for at least 400 years, predating European settlement of the area by a significant margin. What makes the Rustin Rock Cathedral even more intriguing is its apparent connection to Native American spiritual practices. Several of the stone arrangements align perfectly with celestial events, including the summer and winter solstices. Local Cherokee and Choctaw tribal historians acknowledge the site's existence, but consider it sacred ground, sharing few details about its origins or purpose. The cathedral has attracted its share of researchers and curiosity seekers over the years, but access requires navigating unmarked forest roads and getting permission from the private landowner who has protected the site for decades. Those who make the journey describe a profound sense of peace and timelessness among the ancient stones, as if the site exists in a pocket of reality removed from the modern world. Our exploration takes a darker turn as we venture into the swamplands of Lafourche Parish, where one of Louisiana's most unsettling secrets lies hidden beneath the black waters of Bayou Lafourche. This is the location of the Sunken Village, a community that met its end in a single night over a century ago. The village of Patiku was established in the 1840s by Acadian families who made their living from the rich fishing grounds of the bayou. Unlike other settlements that were built on higher ground, Patiku was constructed on a series of wooden platforms and floating foundations that allowed it to rise and fall with the seasonal flooding of the bayou. For 60 years, the village thrived. Families built elaborate homes on stilts, connected by wooden walkways that formed a network of aerial streets above the water. The community was largely self-sufficient, with its own school, church, and trading post. But on the night of September 15, 1903, everything changed. Witnesses from neighboring communities reported seeing strange lights dancing over the bayou that night, followed by sounds described as a cross between thunder and screaming. By morning, the entire village had vanished beneath the waters. Not just flooded, but completely submerged as if the bayou bottom had suddenly dropped away. Search efforts in the days following the disaster found no survivors and no bodies. The village had simply disappeared, swallowed by the dark waters of the bayou. Official records blamed the tragedy on a sudden sinkhole or underground cave collapse, but locals knew the bayou too well to accept such explanations. Today, on exceptionally low tide days, portions of the sunken village become visible just beneath the surface. Fishermen report seeing the tops of buildings, church spires, and even furniture floating just out of reach in the dark water. Some claim to have heard church bells ringing from beneath the bayou on calm Sunday mornings. The site has become a pilgrimage destination for those interested in Louisiana's supernatural history. Local guides, sworn to secrecy about the exact location, occasionally take small groups to witness the submerged ruins. But they warn visitors about the dangers of the site, not just from unstable ground and deep water, but from the restless spirits that many believe still inhabit their underwater homes. Our final destination brings us to the Mississippi River parishes, where one of Louisiana's most carefully guarded secrets lies hidden in plain sight. In St. John, the Baptist parish, between the industrial complexes and suburban developments, stands an antebellum mansion that officially doesn't exist. The Beauregard Phantom House, as locals call it, appears on no maps and in no historical records. Yet it stands as real and solid as any other antebellum mansion in Louisiana, complete with soaring columns, wraparound galleries, and meticulously maintained gardens. The house is inhabited by a family whose lineage can be traced back to the original French colonists, yet they exist in a legal and bureaucratic limbo that allows them to live completely outside modern society. The family pays no taxes, receives no mail, and has no official address. They generate their own electricity, draw water from their own well, and grow most of their own food on grounds that span several acres. Children are educated at home using methods and materials that haven't changed in generations. The family speaks primarily French, conducts business through barter and cash transactions, and maintains connections only with other old Louisiana families who understand and respect their chosen way of life. What makes the Beauregard Phantom House truly remarkable isn't just its inhabitants' commitment to preserving antebellum lifestyle, but their success in remaining invisible to modern bureaucracy. Through a combination of legal loopholes, family connections, and careful cultivation of local officials, they've managed to exist in a gray area where government oversight simply doesn't reach. The house serves as a repository for Louisiana culture that exists nowhere else. The family maintains traditions, recipes, and knowledge that would otherwise be lost to time. Their library contains books and documents that historians would consider priceless, including first-hand accounts of plantation life, the Civil War, and Reconstruction written by family members who lived through these events. Access to the Beauregard Phantom House is granted only through personal introduction by trusted intermediaries. The family is gracious but selective about visitors, understanding that their privacy is essential to preserving their unique way of life. Those fortunate enough to be invited describe an experience that transcends mere historical tourism, offering instead a genuine glimpse into a Louisiana that exists outside of time. These hidden places represent more than just tourist curiosities or historical footnotes. They are the living embodiment of Louisiana's complex soul, preserved by people who understand that some things are too precious to be commodified or commercialized. Each location exists because locals have chosen to protect it, sharing its secrets only with those who demonstrate proper respect and understanding. The true magic of these hidden Louisiana treasures lies not in their mystery, but in their authenticity. In a world where genuine experiences become increasingly rare, these places offer something that cannot be manufactured or replicated: a connection to the deep currents of culture and history that make Louisiana unlike anywhere else on Earth. They remind us that the most valuable aspects of any culture are often the most fragile, preserved not in museums or books, but in the living traditions of people who choose to keep the past alive in the present. These secret places of Louisiana continue to exist because they serve a purpose beyond entertainment or education. They are sanctuaries where the spirit of Louisiana lives on, undiminished by time or change, waiting for those wise enough to seek them out and humble enough to receive their gifts.